So this story is called The Tiny Seed, okay? And what do you think it's about? By looking at the front cover, what do you think it's about? The tiny seed, what comes from seeds? Plants or flowers? Yes, well done. So this is the front cover. We know this because it has the title and the name of the author. Well done. And on the back, usually we have the blurb, and this is the spine. Well done. So, The Tiny Seed. It is autumn, and what do we know about autumn? What happens to the leaves on the trees? They turn different colours, like red and gold and brown, and the leaves fall off the trees. The strong wind is blowing. It blows flower seeds high in the air and carries them far across the land. One of the seeds is tiny, smaller than any of the others. Will it be able to keep up with the others? And where are they all going? So all the seeds are being blown by the wind up into the sky. Another seed. One of the seeds flies high up into the sky, higher than the others. Up it goes. It flies too high, and the sun's rays burn it up. But the tiny seed sails on with the others. Oh no, look, it floated too near to the sun and it got burned. But plants need the sun to grow, right? But do they need it too much or just enough? Just enough, right. So it's flown too near, and it's got too near to the sun and got hot and dried out and burned. Another seed lands on a tall and icy mountain. The ice never melts and the seed cannot grow. The rest of the seeds fly on, but the tiny seed does not go as fast as the others. So one of the seeds landed on a mountain and it's too cold up there. There's ice, so the plant can't grow. Now they fly over the ocean. One seed falls into the water and drowns. The other seeds sail on the wind, but the tiny seed does not go as high as the others. So the tiny seed is still flying, but it's just lower than the others, and one has fallen into the water. Do seeds need water to grow? Yeah, but do you think they need all that water or just enough to keep alive? Exactly, not too much water. Too much water can kill plants. If you put too much water on them, they fly way up high and they get drowned by the water. It's too much for them. One seed drifts down onto the desert. It's hot and dry, and the seed cannot grow. Now the tiny seed is flying very low, but the wind keeps pushing it on. So like I said, we don't want too much water, but we need a little bit of water. And in the desert here, there is no water. It's too hot and it's too dry. So the seed cannot grow. These plants grow in the desert. Do you know what these are? Correct, they're cactuses like we had in our story before. These are cactuses, and they can live in the desert because when they grow, when it does rain, because it can rain sometimes, they soak up as much water as they can and they hold it. They hold it inside them to keep the water inside. Like camels, like camels, they have the humps on their back when they drink so much water, so when they go to the desert, they can last quite a few days without having to drink. But seeds need a little bit of water. Finally, the wind stops and the seeds fall gently to the ground. A bird comes by and eats the seed. The tiny seed is not eaten. It's so small that the bird cannot see it. Is the bird eating a seed? And the tiny seed is just here, just so tiny that nothing can see it. Now it is winter. After their long trip, the seeds settle down. They look just as if they are going to sleep in the earth. Snow falls and covers them like a soft white blanket. A hungry mouse that also lives in the ground eats the seed for his lunch, but the tiny seed lies so still and the mouse does not see it. So he has seen a seed, but he doesn't see the tiny seed. Now it is spring. So we had autumn when the leaves fall off the trees. We've had winter where it snows and it's cold. And then now it's spring. What happens in spring? The plants begin to grow. Well done. After a few months, the snow has melted. It is really spring. Birds fly by, the sun shines, rain falls, the seeds grow so round and full they start to burst open. So they start to burst open, and first they get roots. You see the roots here? And then they shoot up and start to grow. They're not seeds anymore, they're starting to become plants. First they send roots down into the earth, then their little stems and leaves begin to grow upwards towards the sun and air. There is another plant that grows much faster than the new little plants. It is a big fat weed, oh no, and it takes all the sunlight away from one of them. Look, this is a big weed and it's blocking the sun and the water, so this one can't live. And that little one, it was going to die. The tiny seed hasn't started to grow yet. It's still hiding, still waiting. It's not ready to grow. The warm weather brings children out to play. They too have been waiting for the sun and springtime. One child doesn't see the plants. He runs and oh no, he stands on the plant. It's going to get broken. And now it cannot grow anymore. That's why we mustn't pick plants and flowers. The tiny plant that grew from the tiny seed is growing fast, but its neighbour grows even faster. Before the tiny plant has 3 leaves, the other plant has 7. And look, a bud and a flower. So look, this one is tiny, and then this one has grown, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leaves, like Leo had on his flower. But what is happening? First there are footsteps, then a shadow looms over them. Then a hand reaches down and picks the flower. What happens to flowers when you pick them? They die. Yes, we shouldn't pick flowers. You should try to leave them in the ground so that they can die naturally and grow again, and die naturally and grow again. A boy has picked a flower for his friend, but that's a nice thing to do with it. It's nice to buy your friend's flowers, or to sometimes to pick, but try not to pick flowers. I like flowers as presents in pots. Then I can put them in my garden and make them grow even more. Maybe that's a nice present instead of picked flowers or cut flowers. Something's happened. It is summer when it's so hot. It's the hottest season of the year. Now the tiny plant from the tiny seed is alone. It grows on and on. It doesn't stop. The sun shines on it and the rain waters it. It has many leaves. It grows taller and taller. It's taller than the people. It's taller than the trees. It's taller than the houses. And now a flower grows on it. People come from far and near to look at this flower. It is the tallest flower they have ever seen. The tiny seed has become a giant flower. Look, all the people down here, and look how big the tiny seed has grown into the beautiful big flower. How many leaves does this one have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and lots of beautiful orange petals. Well done. All summer long, the birds and the bees and the butterflies come to visit. They've never seen such a big and beautiful flower. Look, they all love to sit and look and touch the flower. It's so beautiful because insects, they eat from the flower. Like I said, the bees come and collect the pollen and the nectar from and the pollen gets moved around, and the nectar from the plant, it goes to make honey. Now it's autumn again. You see the leaves on the trees are starting to change again, the colour. The days start to get darker earlier in the day. The nights get cooler, and the wind carries yellow and red leaves past the flower. Some petals start to fall off, and they sail along with the bright leaves over the land and down to the ground. What do you think is going to happen? Now it starts to be autumn and the flower is getting so big, and now it's finished growing. What do you think will happen to this? The wind blows harder. The flower has lost almost all of its petals. It sways and bends away from the wind, but the wind grows stronger and shakes the flower. Once more the wind shakes the flower, and this time the flower's seed pod opens. Out comes many tiny seeds that quickly sail far away on the wind, so it starts again. You remember I said about the life cycle of a bean? The seed goes into the ground, it grows roots and a stem and leaves and a flower or whatever plant it is. When it's grown, the new seeds from this plant go and start again. So that's the end. So we start again. It's a life cycle. It means it happens again and again and again and again, like all the other life cycles we've had. That's a nice story, isn't it? The tiny, tiny seed. He was the smallest, but then he grew to be the biggest one in all the land, even taller than houses. Did you ever see a flower as big as a house? Me neither. I've seen sunflowers and they can grow really tall as well, can't they? Really tall. I hope you liked the story, and I'll see you soon.